In this edition of Southern Newsweek, ORC research prompts calls for a public conversation about South Dunedin's future, but is it too little, too late? Climate change issues from a community perspective is the focus for two visiting American academics, and a spate of burglaries in the North End results in police issuing an all too familiar warning. Kia ora, I'm Holly Buchanan. A new report from the Otago Regional Council is bringing to light the effects rising seas will have on South Dunedin. Staff believe the time is right to begin a public conversation about the issues and the ways in which they can be mitigated. But it's a discussion some say is long overdue.
A 1 in a 100-year event that may become more common. For almost a decade, the Otago Regional Council has been compiling information on South Dunedin's natural hazards, including flooding. Now, with increasing concern from residents about the area's future, staff are making the information more accessible.
This is work that the ORC's we've held in our archives effectively over the last, say, 10 or so years. So it's a decade of research, not by the ORC necessarily, but by GNS, reports by NIWA, all sorts of information that we hold, which has actually already been in the public domain.
Despite the information having been available for a number of years, it's taken until now to compile it, with last year's flood serving as a catalyst for action. It's an event that the Dunedin City Council continues to face scrutiny about, with pressure on both them and the Regional Council to ensure it doesn't happen again.
They look after the infrastructure and assets and pipe network and things, but they can't really make any decisions about what to do, like with pumping or stormwater, unless they are well informed about what is happening with South Dunedin's natural setting and the groundwater.
While the new report has been compiled by the Regional Council, Hornblow says the body will work hand in hand with the DCC to establish a plan for the future. She's hopeful that central government will also come to the party to offer the community reassurance that action is being taken.
This report is our foundation for starting to go forward and perhaps saying where do we need to get more technical information, or can we start doing cost-benefit analysis and things based on what we already have.
The report shows that many areas of South Dunedin could be inundated with groundwater if sea level rise continues at its current rate. It's something that council staff hope to discuss with residents in the near future, with a series of public meetings planned. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
A coalition of tropical disease experts is looking into ways to tackle fevers in Asia. The University of Otago-led group has just secured around $450,000 to study the causes of fever in Myanmar, and they're hoping international collaboration will be key in making some important medical discoveries.
They give you fever. Mosquitoes like this one are responsible, along with the climate and other factors, for the spread of illnesses that result in fevers, many of which are often fatal. Director of the Centre for International Health, Professor John Crump, says a recently formed alliance with the University of Medicine in Myanmar will help to combat the spread of certain tropical diseases.
So we currently have a PhD student who's been studying patients with severe fever who have bacteria in their blood, what we call sepsis. We're planning to extend that project to focus on other causes of fever and their contribution to severe disease in Myanmar.
He says malaria was once thought of as one of the most common contributors to fatal fevers. While many inroads have been made in the fight against the disease, Crump says there are resistance issues.
What we call artemisinin combination therapies that have until recently been quite effective in areas where resistance to the earlier drugs was common. Unfortunately, we know that in parts of Southeast Asia, resistance to artemisinins is common and spreading. And so, although we've seen big gains in malaria control in the last 10 years or more, that may not be sustained.
While malaria is the main offender, Crump says there are a few others which are equally guilty.
Besides malaria, common causes of fever in the tropics include things like typhoid fever, which is caused by a particular type of salmonella that's acquired by contaminated food or water.
He says leptospirosis is also an issue. The joint effort to combat fever is being funded by the Health Research Council through its East Asia Joint Research Programme. The centre's financial contribution to the programme is $450,000. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
A pair of visiting American academics are taking a community approach to tackling issues resulting from climate change. They're being hosted by Otago Museum for the next month, running a series of public workshops. And while they say climate change is a global issue, they want to know what's going on locally.
Taking in their new surroundings. California-based Beth Ferguson and Sarah Dean have just arrived in New Zealand as part of a cultural exchange program. They're being hosted by Otago Museum, where they'll stay for a month to explore the changing relationship between design and climate.
And we've just gotten here, so we're going to really hear from local knowledge as well as different types of aerial photography, map making, and soil science, and looking at erosion in a bunch of different ways.
Their visit to Dunedin is funded by the American Arts Incubator as well as 01, a technology and art organisation in San Francisco. They're looking forward to showing both the public and other local academics the ways in which science, art and design can intersect and be used to solve problems.
Beth and I are both from the design and art realm world, but we work a lot with scientists and we work a lot with climate and environmental issues. So for us, it's a way of engaging and expanding the methods that can be used in science through an art mentality.
Already, Dean says the pair feels very supported by both the museum and the wider community. She's hoping that continues, allowing them to work with as many organisations as possible during their time here.
We've met some fantastic community organizations already in Dunedin, and anybody can come find us here if they would like to work with us on issues of science and art and environment.
The pair are running a series of workshops to exchange ideas and concerns with the local community about what's affecting them. They're planning a final exhibit in early August to display what they've been working on, showcasing more than 20 local projects as well as a handful from around the world. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
SPCA Otago is asking for the public's help to find out who dumped 2 puppies near Brighton recently. Staff say they're thankful for the member of the public who alerted them to the abandoned animals, which were without food or water. And now they want to make an example out of the person or persons responsible for the crime.
It's about caring as opposed to not. Otago SPCA Inspector Sophie Tenerau is pleased these black lab cross puppies have been saved after being dumped near Brighton. She believes they're only alive thanks to a member of the public caring enough to call the SPCA.
I think if she hadn't have found them when she did, I don't know what their fate could have ended up being, especially in winter, being left with no feed provisions and no water. I hate to think what could have happened.
Tenerau says the SPCA wants help from the public to catch the people who left the 2 puppies for dead.
We'd like to take any steps we possibly can to find out how these puppies were left like this. Unfortunately, it happens a lot more than we'd like to see, but it is an offence, so we would like to not just talk to the people and hear their side of the story, but hopefully follow through and seek justice for the puppies as well.
She says there's legal consequence in store for those who left the defenceless animals on the side of the road.
Most likely, it is an offence under the Animal Welfare Act, under Section 14.2, to desert an animal without making any provisions for feed, water, or for their physical health and behavioural needs.
Tenerau says while the SPCA is able to care for animals, the organisation is in need of funds to maintain and possibly remodel some buildings, as some issues are becoming obvious.
The door handle actually fell off this morning, so it's quite perfect timing for you to be here.
She says right now there's currently enough space at the shelter to look after the animals they have. But both her and other staff are very much looking forward to getting some new buildings on site, with fundraising already underway. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
A spate of burglaries in the North Dunedin area has local police reiterating the need for students to secure their property. Dunedin police had 5 burglaries reported to them recently, and while not wanting to blame the victims of crime, police say it's all about being sensible.
Man on a mission. University of Otago campus police officer John Woodhouse is imploring those living in the North Dunedin area to take precautions against becoming the victims of property crime.
Well, it's really the old story of securing your property. I often give advice to first year students that are embarking on their flatting journey to make sure that they get a big latch lock for their bedrooms. Whenever they leave their property, to make sure that their doors and windows are secure, and that when they go to bed that their curtains are pulled.
Woodhouse says generally there are two types of thieves who tend to be active in the area.
There's the intoxicated student that enters a flat to perhaps steal food or alcohol or perhaps perform some minor damage, and then there are other professional burglars that will scout out the campus area looking for an easy opportunity.
He says often professional thieves target the university area during tertiary holidays. He has some strong words of advice for those types of career criminals.
Well, there's many methods we employ, monitoring sites like TradeMe and to track stolen property, and we are often very successful, and we do target those known burglars that are active. So our efforts to target those known burglars has been successful, and it will be successful in the future.
Woodhouse says it's not just TradeMe that is monitored, with police also keeping an eye on the various social media pages as well. Despite the proactive approach, Woodhouse says anyone who sees suspicious behaviour in the area is asked to inform the police as soon as possible. Daryl Baser, 39 Dunedin News.
Still to come on Southern Newsweek, a local building company gains national recognition for a new home in Abbotsford. And it's officially open. Small dogs on the Taieri now have their own special exercise area. Welcome back. A modest home in suburban Abbotsford has won the silver medal in the Master Builders House of the Year competition. Despite it being originally planned as a show home, it was sold before being finished. And the company behind it hope it shows just how good the work they do can be.
This is what a silver medal winning house looks like. The Abbotsford home of Mark and Stacey Gribben was originally supposed to be a show home for registered master builder Richard Lobb of Navigation Homes. But instead it's now taken out second place in the Master Builders House of the Year competition. Lobb says the home is one of his favourite projects he's worked on and believes this latest accolade is important to his fledgling franchise in Otago.
It means a lot. Very proud of winning the award. It gives us a bit of credibility to our company and the way we do our builds. A lot of us talk about in our advertising and promotion about quality builds that you'd love to live in, but by putting yourself out there in a competition like this, it gives you real credibility.
For the competition, houses are judged on how they're built and painted, along with how the kitchen and bathroom are fitted out. Lobb says judging is kept fair with a centralised system to avoid any chance of unfair advantage.
It has different categories, like this is between a $300,000 and $400,000 home, which is pretty much probably about 80% of your market in Dunedin anyway. And what they do is the same two judges judge every house throughout the country. And that's a new thing. In the years gone by, it actually used to be judged regionally.
The rest of the street resembles a building site with many homes under construction, including Lobb's latest build. While he says winning silver was amazing, he's going for gold next year. Daryl Baser, 39 Dunedin News.
Small dogs on the Taieri now have their own dedicated park to run around in. The Dunedin City Council has opened a new small dog breed park in Mosgiel at the request of local dog owners. But the official opening didn't go quite to plan.
Running free. A brand new small breed dog park is officially open in Mosgiel, much to the delight of local dog owners and their pets. Dunedin City Council staff say it's designed not only to entertain dogs, but to help reassure owners that their dogs are safe.
I think it's fantastic. I think it's not only just for the small dogs, but it's to give the owner of the small dogs, who can be the elderly person, the confidence to come out here with their dog and not feel intimidated.
The opening didn't exactly go to plan, with the key to the gate being left in the city. Despite that, a council staff member who brought along her pups was happy to wait.
I think the park's great. Yes, it's super. It's a great asset.
A recent survey of more than 400 owners in Mosgiel area showed 57% were in favour of the park over another option.
And everyone was given the opportunity to vote on what their preference was, either having lighting at the park or having the small dog park. And the survey results showed that they were in favour of having the small dog park.
Based on that response, the DCC is also planning a trial of 2 solar lights at the entrance of the park. Staff say if the trial goes well, they'll consider further lighting once funding becomes available. Henry McMullen, 39, Dunedin News.
And just ahead on Southern Newsweek, our multi-use stadium is about to become a racetrack for the first round of a national series. And the Pokemon craze sweeps Dunedin, with hundreds turning out to catch the virtual creatures as... Welcome back. Drift cars from around the world are set to race in a local venue not traditionally used as a racetrack. More than 3,000 square metres of track will be laid at Forsyth Bar Stadium for the first round of a national drifting series. And it's got local motorsport fans excited.
Forsyth Bar Stadium is set to be turned into a racetrack come December, with the venue selected to host the opening round of the D1NZ Drifting Series. The motorsport event will be the first of its kind for the Southern Hemisphere, and those involved in the drifting scene are looking forward to hosting something locally.
A lot of people love it. Very few people have been able to get into it and compete in it, just because of the access to it. But for sure, there's a lot of people here that definitely go to the events and watch them, and for sure the stadium will be packed out in December.
Black says the local drifting community isn't as big as he'd like it to be, with a lot of that coming down to a lack of access to suitable tracks.
Unfortunately, we don't get a lot of opportunities being this far south. The closest tracks they have are to Christchurch, Timaru, Invercargill and Cromwell. None in Dunedin, so it's a good 2 to 2.5 hours drive to get anywhere. Makes it a bit harder for testing and to get anywhere for the events.
Black says he's interested to see how the stadium will be transformed into a racetrack. It'll be the first time it's been done, but regardless of how it's done, he's planning on getting involved.
We're looking at probably a couple of entries, so if we can get 2 entries in there, then be good for us, and being a local event, we're going to get a lot of support too.
The Dunedin event will be the first of the series, with events also scheduled at Mount Smart Stadium, Hampton Downs and Manfield. Ruby McAndrew, 39, Dunedin News.
The future of basketball in Otago is in the hands of its youngest players. Basketball Otago is continuing its bounce back from financial issues, with an increasing focus on getting more kids involved. And with its school holiday program drawing large numbers, things are looking good.
Showing off their handles. The Diggers Basketball Holiday Camp is back in session, with a full roster of school kids taking part. The camp is designed to help improve the quality of basketball being played in Otago.
Oh, this is where it starts with these ages. So if you start them young, they develop better skills early on. They become better players.
Organisers say the camp is helping to feed the growing interest in basketball nationwide. They say there's a combination of things at play that have sparked the enthusiasm for the sport.
I think basketball is becoming a more mainstream sport in New Zealand. We've got Steven Adams dominating the NBA, and we've got the Breakers, obviously. So basketball's in the news. It's everywhere for these kids.
These kids are being put through a range of different drills, including ball handling, shooting and game practice, with the kids lapping up all aspects of the game.
Our family is made to like basketball. We're big fans of basketball. We don't like hating it. It's basically our life.
It's like a good sport for like learning, like helping with your jumping.
Just to see all the people having fun and doing stuff in their holidays instead of being at home sitting on the couch.
The program is key to helping find new talent within Basketball Otago.
Yeah, there's definitely some talented kids out there, ones that I'm watching out for, scouting for my club team, and potential nuggets of the future.
While Otago may not have a team in the National Basketball League currently, the future is looking bright for the sport with plenty of young stars in the making. Henry McMullen, 39, Dunedin News.
And finally, hundreds of local gaming fans gathered en masse recently to catch Pokemon with their peers. The Dunedin Pokemon Go event, which began at the Botanic Garden, was one of several of its kind happening simultaneously around the country. And those taking part were happy to get out and about in order to catch them all.
Go Pokemon Go! Hundreds of Dunedin residents joined in with global gaming phenomenon Pokemon Go on Saturday as part of a series of events nationwide. The group began at the Botanic Gardens before swarming to other locations around the city. Long-time Pokemon fan Amber Pachowski was among those hunting for the digital critters, taking time out to explain the game to others.
Most of them are randomly generated, however there are items that you can use to increase the odds of the generated Pokemon as well as increasing their levels.
Pachowski says being one of the organisers for the Dunedin event had its downsides, with it affecting her own gameplay.
On the walk, sadly I didn't find very much because I was too busy organising people, although I know quite a few people have caught larger Pokemon that they wouldn't normally see unless we were in a group like this.
As stereotypes go, people who play computer-based games are typically a bit less social than people who go out and play with others, be it on the sports field or in bands. But Pachowski believes this game is helping to get gamers out and about.
From what I've seen, it's been absolutely incredible, especially for people with children that don't normally socialise and things like that. I've heard stories of children who have started interacting with people that they normally never would have even thought about the possibility of.
Internationally, there have been tales of people injuring themselves by walking into power poles, traffic and other hazards of daily life. However, Pachowski says the 200 plus people who took part locally listened to the marshals and enjoyed a social afternoon of well-mannered frivolity. Daryl Baser, 39, Dunedin News.
And that's all for this edition of Southern Newsweek. Be sure to check us out on Facebook, YouTube and Twitter, or you can keep up with the Dunedin News via our website, dunedintv.co.nz. I'm Holly Buchanan, thanks for watching.
Supporting local content so you can see more of New Zealand on air.